In a remote village in northern Thailand, surrounded by lush jungle and rice paddies, there stood a centuries-old banyan tree. The villagers believed it was sacred, home to spirits known as Phi, and offered daily prayers and offerings to appease the tree's guardian spirit, Chaume Tuptum. One evening, a young man named Somchai, who had recently moved to the village, scoffed at these superstitions. He was a modern man, educated in the city, and saw no reason to fear or revere an old tree. His skepticism did not go unnoticed by the villagers, who warned him not to anger the spirits. Somchai decided to prove his point. Under the cover of darkness, he approached the banyan tree with a machete, intending to cut a small branch as a trophy. As he raised his machete, the air around him grew cold, and an eerie silence fell over the jungle. Ignoring the unease that crept over him, Somchai swung the blade. The instant the machete made contact, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the village. Startled, Somchai dropped the blade and stumbled backward. The banyan tree seemed to pulse with a dark energy, its roots writhing like serpents. Terrified, he ran back to his house, but the sense of dread followed him. That night, Somchai was plagued by nightmares. He dreamt of being trapped within the tree, roots entangling his limbs, and the face of a vengeful spirit glaring at him from the twisted branches. He woke up drenched in sweat, but the nightmare didn't end with his waking. The following day, Somchai noticed strange marks on his arms and legs, resembling the patterns of the banyan tree's roots. He tried to brush it off as a coincidence, but the villagers, seeing the marks, whispered that Chaume Tuptum had marked him for revenge. Desperate to rid himself of the curse, Somchai sought the advice of the village elder, a wise old woman named Mai Noi. She told him that the only way to appease the spirit was to make a sincere offering and beg for forgiveness at the tree. Somchai, now believing in the power of the spirit, agreed to do whatever it took. That night, under Mai Noi's guidance, Somchai approached the banyan tree once more. He placed offerings of flowers, incense, and food at its base, and knelt down, his forehead touching the ground.
Chaume Tuptum, I beg for your forgiveness. I was foolish and disrespectful. Please lift this curse from me,
he pleaded. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the banyan tree, and Somchai felt the cold presence lift from his body. The marks on his skin faded, and he knew the spirit had accepted his apology. Relieved, Somchai stood up and thanked Mai Noi. As they walked back to the village, Mai Noi warned him,
"Never forget that some things are beyond our understanding. The spirits watch over us, and it is wise to respect them."
From that day on, Somchai became a firm believer in the village's traditions. He made daily offerings to the banyan tree and lived the rest of his days in harmony with the spirits, never again daring to challenge the unseen forces that surrounded him.